listening to the VetTunes podcast, where we shine the spotlight on veteran artists and artists in the music industry. Stand by for transmission. David Corlew is a respected music industry executive, well known as the longtime manager, trusted friend, and business partner of the late country music icon, Charlie Daniels. For decades, David stood alongside Charlie, not only as a business strategist, but as a steady presence behind one of country and southern rock's most enduring careers. Their partnership was built on loyalty, shared values, and a deep commitment to faith, patriotism, and service. Beyond his work in the music industry, David has been a passionate advocate for America's veterans and active duty service members. He played an instrumental role in organizing and supporting USO tours, helping bring music and morale to troops stationed around the world. His dedication to those who serve extended even further through his leadership with the Journey Home Project, a nonprofit co-founded with Charlie Daniels to assist veterans in need. The organization focuses on connecting veterans and their families with vital resources, raising awarenesses about the challenges they face, and providing direct financial support to veteran-focused organizations. David's career reflects more than professional success. It embodies purpose-driven leadership. Whether managing tours, producing events, or championing veteran outreach initiatives, he has consistently used his platform to make a meaningful difference. His legacy is defined not only by decades in the entertainment industry, but by a heartfelt commitment to honoring and serving those who have served our country. David, it is our honor to have you here with us for the VetTunes podcast, and we're just so excited that you're here.
Well, Mike, it couldn't be any more of an honor, bigger honor than it is for me. And I've been looking for a new bio. Maybe I can keep that.
You sure can. You sure can.
But no, it's always been an honor for me, as long as I can remember, to be in the presence of military veterans. Didn't have the opportunity to serve myself, so it's I made a commitment early on throughout my music career and everything that I would eventually get to that point where I could serve those who have served and try to do my part. So this is a part of a journey that has been probably one of the things that I'm most proud of is the military aspect of the work I've been able to do through my career. So it's when you're able to parlay, so to speak, what you've done, your job, your tradecraft, and parlay it into something that is meaningful. Obviously, music to so many of us is so meaningful and personal. And for it to be the catapult to put me into even more of a giving and caring place is only the blessings of God.
Yeah.
So I love being here, and I love your place.
Thank
I
you.
love your mission. And when we met and you told me then that you were going to pursue music when you left the Marine Corps, and then when I ran into you, when you did roll out, and you shared with me your plan, and you have not faltered or veered from your mission, and you'll see that a lot in the music business. It's here, it's there, and very refreshing to see a place like this and what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
It's an honor for me to have you as a mentor, and a sounding board to some of my crazy ideas, because you grow up in the military lifestyle, and you don't always have an understanding on other pursuits, and music is a little bit different than than the military environment, but it's always just been a passion, and I've been fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of military folks and veterans that play. I know that I've used music throughout my career as therapy. I didn't know I was, but I've come to realize that I was, and to be able to do it in retirement and be able to have a show like this and highlight veterans in music, in the music business, and then also veteran causes and things like that. It just felt like a natural progression. It's just a continuation of the mission.
Well, music business is always, it's in transition all the time, and we live in a world with the new technology. Music continues to change minute by minute rather than year by year. And I think it's so critical now more than ever, and this is just my humble opinion, that there are so many drastic changes with AI and what's going on with the music business. The only way for it to have everything has a center to it, our faith, our lives, we have to have that center of where we've come from and where we're going, our coordinates. And I think that Louis L'Amour, the novelist, said one time that the reason why people get lost is they never look back, they never stop on their path in the wilderness. They never stop and look back and collect some things that will give you a memory, so that when you come back, when you start back home, you're able to identify recognizable things and know that you're on the right trail going home. And I think that's with the music business. If we don't continue to have intimate, comfortable, real places to make music like what you've created here, we're going to get lost a lot quicker than we want to, if you're a lover of music and lover of all things, entertainment wise. And so I don't know again, it's my humble opinion, I don't know if you really realize the impact that you have by creating a space like this, a musical space like this. And because nobody wants to invest their time and energy as well as their money to have some place as comfortable as this is. I was thinking about just staying here tonight, hang out.
Man, you're welcome.
This
You're
couch.
welcome. I have two daughters that are off in college. One just started here, and so yeah, we have the whole top
Great.
floor of the house is open,
Well, I was going
and
to
you're
say, this
welcome to come and
couch and
stay.
working with the military and the music business, I've learned to sleep in some pretty cramped places.
Oh
So
yeah,
this couch will work fine.
yeah. No, we tried to make a comfortable environment to where people can come and relax,
Yeah.
record, and repeat, and just do it over and over, and have folks come out and just enjoy being out in the country and just kind of away from a lot of the distractions,
Yeah.
and then um, let their mind kind of wind down a little bit while we crank up the creative juices and do some writing and recording.
Biggest challenge of creativity is um, technology getting in the way of creativity and the comfort that I think an artist, whether you're painting or whether you're playing a guitar or whatever you're doing, there needs to be a safe haven,
Yeah.
and that's what I think you've created here.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Pretty
That
cool
was that was
place.
the goal.
Pretty hip
Yeah.
place.
Thank you. Thank you. We love it here. Shelbyville's been it's been a great little town, and it's nice to kind of be away from the hustle and bustle, but yet we're close enough to Nashville where if you want to jump
Yeah.
into the hustle and bustle, it's easy to find.
Well, if Charlie was alive and he was here with us, he would be like me. You might have a hard time running him off.
That that would be it'd be a thrill.
Yeah.
It'd be a thrill. Speaking of Charlie, how did you meet? How did you meet him? Like, how did that journey start?
I met him on a couple of different occasions, but the what brought me to the music business, which brought me to the opportunity to meet Charlie, was that I grew up on the streets of Nashville. I'm a longtime native. My family's a multi-generational family from Tennessee. We've been here since it was a state. I grew up on the streets, downtown Nashville, West End, Murphy Road, and it was a hard time. I grew up 10 of us in a 5-room house, and so I grew up pretty tough, and kind of took the path that a lot of street kids do. Left high school, didn't finish high school, was going to join the military. And because of, at the time, a police record would keep you from joining the military. And so that was a setback for me. And from that point on, what happens, and I was a boxer. I was a Golden Glove boxer. Started fighting when I was 12 years old, and fought for various boxing teams in amateur boxing, Golden Gloves. Probably one of the worst lessons I ever learned. The only way I got attention, I grew up in a big family, so the only way to get attention was to hurt somebody. So I ended up working in some bars downtown and all. But anyway, ended up where a lot of people end up, and that's in the construction business. And I was working on a track drill, shooting dynamite, and building roads and stuff like that. And it was November, and probably around 71, 72, and I thought I need a job inside where it's warm. And in the old days, in that time period, you looked in the newspaper and want ads for jobs, and I saw a small ad about a record store clerk, and I applied for it, and it was, of course, this is in the 60s, early 70s, and so this is the there was a record store in Hillsborough Village, if people are familiar with Nashville, around Belmont. There was literally 5 universities: Belmont, Vanderbilt, Aquinas College. There were multiple campuses within 8 or 10 blocks of each other, which created what I always called Nashville's Haight-Ashbury. You know, the hippie culture that grew out of Nashville was there. And this store we sold bell-bottoms and flowery shirts and pipes and rolling papers and everything that had to do with that culture. And so here's a redneck sitting in the middle of all that, and but I worked in the music part of it and sold records, and I just literally fell in love with listening to music. I had my music history was listening to the little red radio that we had in the kitchen, where we listened to the weather and got the local news. But I got to listen to music, and then to have a job inside, and all I had to do was listen to music and talk about music and sell it. That was a pretty cool deal. And because we were in Hillsborough Village, we were right close to Music Row. So there was an influx of a lot of the artists that were recording in Nashville. So on any given day, Chris Christopherson would come in, some of the older guys that were involved in the music business, especially a lot of the industry people came in. And Charlie would come into the store to buy music. And I met him there. We ended up opening up another store, which was actually closer to where Charlie was living in Mount Juliet, or close to Mount Juliet. But anyway, we created a friendship, or at least a conversational friendship. And he came in one day, and let me back up. Jerry Corbett, who was a member of the Youngbloods, and a guy named Louis Perlis, who was the road manager for the Lovin' Spoonful. There was 4 or 5 of these guys. They were in town, and they came into the record store, and we started talking and asked them what they were doing, and they said, we're working on an album with a guy named Charlie Daniels. I said, well, I met Charlie before and all, and they said, well, we're new in Nashville. You take us out and show us around. So I took them out to clubs, and next morning we woke up a little bit hungover, and Jerry Corbett like I say, was very famous during that time period with the Youngbloods and Jesse Colin Young. And he said, "Why don't you come to the studio?" And have you ever been to a recording studio before? And I said, "No." And so I went to the recording studio. I met Charlie. And through all of that interaction, probably 4 or 5 months passed, and Charlie came back in and said, "I've made a record," and "Uneasy Rider" was becoming a hit, and he asked me if I knew anybody that wanted a job of setting up equipment and hauling equipment around the country in a van, and I said, "I'll take it," because I'd never really been anywhere. I'd never traveled much, and so I took a job for $50 a week and $5 a day per diem, and so I got to see America through the windshield of a 1973 GMC van. We had two vans. One, we had the band rode in one van, and then I drove the other van with the equipment. I had 3 twin reverbs. I had a Fender Rhodes piano, B3 organ, bass amp, one box that had a bunch of cords and wires that I knew nothing about. But figured it out, and that's really how it started. And so took off down the road. My first roommate, bass player for Charlie at the time, was Billy Cox, who was part of the band of Gypsies, who played Jimi Hendrix, played Woodstock with Jimi Hendrix. He was Billy Cox, and Buddy Miles was the band that played with Hendrix after the Experience. Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, when they left, when that band broke up in the late '60s, but Billy ended up playing bass for Charlie for a while. So off and down the road we went, and the rest is history, So it was such a wonderful time in the music business. We opened up for acts that varied anywhere from Brownsville Station to Wishbone Ash, a lot of European bands, Black Oak, Arkansas, a lot of those acts. And we ended up with the record was a hit. Uneasy Rider was a hit. And so people started looking at Charlie, both from the label standpoint and booking agency. And we met a gentleman in Macon, Georgia. We were playing with the band War. And no, Jay Giles. We were playing with the Jay Giles band. And a gentleman who is a legend in the music business, his name is Alex Hodges. He was a booking agent for Bobby Womack, Otis Redding, and ended up starting a booking agency with Phil Walden, who started Capricorn, who signed the Allman Brothers. Mm-hmm. And they had a booking agency that housed the Allman Brothers and Leonard Skinner and Marshall Tucker Band and Wet Willie and Sea Level and all of these, the basis of what we consider Southern rock music. It was the center, and so that's where we started down the road of Southern rock, and Charlie's career really bloomed from that point forward. So it was just a great time in music. I mean, that's where our classic rock comes from. There'll never be any more classic rock because there'll never be a period in time. It's my belief there'll never be a period of time in music like there was in the '70s, the early '70s. It's such a, the Eagles and so many great bands came from that time period.
Growing up, when I was thinking of listening to Charlie Daniels Band, it was Charlie Daniels Band, Marshall Tucker Band, Allmans, Leonard Skinner. I mean, it was, and you were right there.
Yeah, we were right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it.
I can't, as I shared with you earlier, I'm going to write a book this year, and I was thinking about obviously trying to find that starting place or what exactly, because of Charlie, I've got to experience a lot of different parts of a career, and but I have been able to and it's something that maybe some people wouldn't appreciate, but I've sat on the dirty floor of a Holiday Inn hotel room with my back leaned up against a bed or a chair with a room full of guys with guitars, and I remember hearing Toy Caldwell play This Old Cowboy for Charlie the first time. Tommy Caldwell from Marshall Tucker Band played In My Own Way, but to sit in a hotel room at night, having fun, having some drinks, and listening to these legends play these songs on wonderful Martin guitars, and it was just it's an experience I'll never forget. I got to hear all that music in its infancy. And so it was just, and little did I know that it was going to be a part of musical history. We didn't know. We were just a bunch of, Charlie always said that Southern music was not a genre of music. It was a lifestyle. It was really the basis of lower middle class white kids that had listened to WLAC radio, which was a 100,000 watt clear channel station in Nashville that had a gospel hour, that had a John R. Blues hour. They played pop music during the day, and then they played blues and gospel music at night. So that's what Southern music, in my opinion, is a collective. And I'll always refer back to Charlie because that's where my education in music came from, was from Charlie. But when you look at the nucleus of Southern music, and Charlie always said Leonard Skinner was what he considered the greatest rock and roll band there was, and Marshall Tucker Band was a fusion of jazz and country music, and a little bit of blues, and then the Allman Brothers was just one of the greatest blues bands that ever was, and took blues to a different level. And we always said CDB was a little bit of a culmination of all that, of country and of jazz, and also it was a time period when all of those things spawned out of the business that were, for me, is so meaningful today. I still listen to Marshall Tucker, and I still listen to the Allman Brothers, and I still see Jimmy Hall. Jimmy Hall is still very active in the music community, and he had Wet Willie, and so those are they're timeless works of art. From my foxhole, as I would say.
So we are nearing the 20th anniversary of an album that Charlie Daniels Band did, and it's live in Iraq.
Yeah.
And I was revisiting that and just hearing all of those sounds that you just talked about. I mean, he's got the hits on there, but then there's some of those longer, more instrumental jams that are very reminiscent of the Marshall Tuckers and Allman and the Allmans, and I mean, just an incredible album. What was it like to be there? And that was 2006? 2005.
Yeah, 2005.
Okay. Do you remember what time, like roughly when? Was it summertime or
it was summertime. Obviously, with your military history, it was a hotbed. 2004, 2005 was a hotbed in Iraq, and Charlie, we had, prior to then, from 73, when I went to work for him, not until probably the late 70s, early 80s, we started playing a lot of military bases. But during what we call the Cold War period, we played every forward operating base there was in the world, I believe. We played everywhere. Charlie's first base was Thule, Greenland. But we had played so many bases when the trade towers came down, Iraq happened, Afghanistan happened, and Charlie wanted to be one of the first artists to go entertain the troops. So, and we did some USO tours, but we worked with a lady by the name of Judy Seal, that had a boutique agency that specialized in going overseas to military bases. And so we were going to go, and we were all timid, excited, a little bit of fear going into a hotbed like that, combat zone. Um, so I did what any self-respecting hillbilly would do. I decided I would buy a camera and document it. And then I found a little small recording uh, um, board that I could plug into whatever mixing board we would have. And you more than anybody would know the availability of equipment in Baghdad or Al Assad. It's not, you don't have a large menu to choose from. So we just took a little small recording machine, and I bought this camera online. I knew nothing about video cameras, and off we went. And we recorded Baghdad. We recorded probably 5 or 6 different forward operating bases, and not to take credit for it, but it was my idea. I said, we loved Fillmore East, Live at the Fillmore East by the Allman Brothers, and there was all these great live albums. And I said, nobody's ever done a live. Who would ever think of an album live from Baghdad or live from Iraq? And so off we went. And the footage I shot was horrible. I was zooming in, zooming out. When I came home, I showed it to my wife, and it made her seasick. It made her dizzy because I was whipping the camera around. But I found a brilliant editor that helped me because I knew nothing about it, and I shot it on the little cassette tapes. And he was able to pull enough footage out of it for a visual piece. And then the recordings were pretty rough, but we were able to work on them. And obviously, we played a long time on some of the shows. I mean, when we got to Baghdad, I think we played for 2.5 or 3 hours. I mean, we had 5,000 young men and women out in front of Charlie. And so it brought on the need to do some of the longer jams, but also throw in Can't You See or throw in somebody else's songs. We wanted the kids to hear some hits, and we didn't have a lot of hits, but it was all in all, the crescendo of the first night in Baghdad was that Charlie said that I don't know if anybody would care to come backstage and talk or shake my hand, or I'll sign an autograph, whatever you'd like for me to do. And we probably saw 4,000 people that night. We stayed there till 0300 probably. But he saw anybody that got in line, which was everybody. And that was the beginning of 3 other trips that we made. But I brought that stuff home, and the fun thing about it is that I had about $2,200 invested in that whole thing, the camera included, and I think we sold it to a record label for $75,000, I think. And so we made money on it, and it was just a special piece. It was a keepsake for us, and we ended up retaining the rights to it, and so we released it on Blue Hat, and it was that's how it all started. Yeah. But we played. It was so much fun, and the reason why Charlie was so good is that we had traveled. We'd been in every city, wide spot in the road in the United States, and so when a soldier would come to Charlie, Charlie would go, "Son, where are you from?" And he would say, "I'm from Omaha, Nebraska." And Charlie was able to say, "Well, man, I love that barbecue joint, on the corner of 3rd and Broadway in Omaha." And that brought a little piece of home to that young man or woman that he was not going to get from another artist or going to get from another entertainer, because Charlie was such a ground level guy. And I watched the impact that it had on those young men and women, which became the thread when we got home and started seeing start running into some people that we had seen in Iraq 2 years before. And there were people that were struggling, and there were soldiers that were struggling, and that became the desire to have a foundation. Is how are we going to continue to give back, when these young men and women are coming home
And that was
in pain.
the catalyst for the Journey Home project?
It was a catalyst for us to raise money. We started out raising money for other organizations, and then as the war continued on, there were more foundations, and some of them started hitting bumps in the road, and maybe overspending and things like that, misused funds, and we just decided that if we were going to raise money in Charlie's name, that we wanted to be good stewards of that money. We didn't want to be lumped into those bad deals. And so we said, let's start our own foundation. And that way we can be good stewards of the money. We can direct it to where we feel like it's needed. And that's why our charter is today that we don't offer programs. We don't offer PTS programs or songwriting programs or anything. What I have done in my collective, almost 20 years now, raising money for veterans, is that I go vet organizations and talk to them. And I'm not a veteran, but been there, been in the same place as you've been. Hadn't had as many people shooting at us as you have, but we understand. And so when we see a need, and I'm able to vet other organizations and go, this is a good place to invest in. They're doing good work. And obviously we've tried to stay on a path of the things that Charlie and I cared about, and that's songwriting and songs and equine therapy. We were both lived in the cowboy world. And so those are programs to this date, after 12 years of, the creation of Journey Home Project, that we still invest as much as we can in those kind of programs, the ones that we love and we know. So it's been again, with Charlie, I always say, people ask me about working for Charlie, and I can't even put into words. I mean, you and I could sit here and talk for days, and I could share with you opportunities that I have had because I work for Charlie. And that ranges from sitting in a hotel room at night and listening to Toy Caldwell play, to being able to work with veterans and see that maybe we've made an impact on their rehabilitation and their reintegration back into civilian life.
Absolutely.
So many fingers, so many paths that we've been able to travel because of Charlie.
Yeah.
And that's
that love and that passion.
Yeah. That I'm still operating on today.
Yeah.
We've always said that we have an unpayable debt of gratitude for our veterans like you and so many others that have served this country. And I'm the same way with Charlie. I have a gratitude that I can't express, for Charlie really gave me a life. He took me off the streets and gave me purpose and gave me a reason to straighten up, fly right, And
if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the live in Iraq. And I mean, so I was 45 minutes down the road in Fallujah.
Okay.
And then, so for you guys to come in and throw an event like that, and from a manager's standpoint, what does it take to put something like that together?
Well, it's obviously you need somebody that's been there before, and Judy Seal was that person. With Charlie's case, he offered everybody that was going to make that first trip or that like I said, ultimately was, I think, 3 different trips I made with Charlie. I got a little bit hooked on the adrenaline and stuff, so I ended up going back a lot more with other bands and with other opportunities to go over. But the logistics of getting to Kuwait, as you well know, that was the tough part. And then the military, provided that opportunity. I know that the first time when we went to Iraq, they were not allowing any civilians whatsoever on the roads because of the IEDs. And so we went everywhere in Black Hawks. And so the first time we went, uh, there was a lot of coordination because we would fly into Baghdad, for instance, and do a main show that night. But prior to the show that night, we would jump on 2 or 3 Black Hawks and go off to the places where you guys were at that were on the front lines. We went to some forward operating bases that only had 50 or 60 guys there.
So
and
that's
we
a
would,
little bit more of an acoustic guitar.
yeah,
and
we would
acoustic
just take
fiddle
the
kind of
acoustic
thing.
guitars and we would do 2 or 3 of those and then come back and play what I would call a main stage, whether it was Al-Assad or Bob Anaconda or wherever it was. So the hardest part of it was the emotional stress and the long hours because, by the time you get up in the morning and start and you military guys are, if you're going to go somewhere in Iraq, you got to be on the flight deck about 2 hours before you even leave. And so that learning patience and learning all the things that you guys have trained for and were programmed to do, that was second nature to you guys. It was a little bit of an emotional struggle for free living musicians that have no structure, but it was a learning process for all of us too. And again, me being a God guy, I realize now that was the structure that allowed me to, when we created Journey Home Project, and for me to come and be able to sit down with veterans like you and the other guys, that there's a sense of communication line that's open with me and you that maybe a regular civilian might not have. And that provided all of that. But, there was a lot of hurry up and waits, a lot of things. And I don't want to talk too long, but one of our great stories is that we were on I'll tell it backwards. I walked into a market one day, a MAPCO market here in Mount Juliet, or in where I live. And there were a group of managers from MAPCO, and they were all standing around. And I said, "What's going on here?" And he said, "Well, we're just inspecting the store. It's a new store." And I go, "Well, I come in here a lot. And I just want to tell you, your people here, they're good people." And I was trying to just give them a good pitch.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I work for Charlie Daniels." And he said, "Well, I've got a Charlie Daniels story." And I go, "Now, let me hear it." And he goes, he was a Ranger. And he said, I had to get back to Baghdad, and we were at some godforsaken forward operating base, and it was midnight, and we were going back to Baghdad. And he said, I had to be in Baghdad that morning, and when I went to the flight deck, as you know, it's like a shuttle service. There's 130s landing and taking off, or C-17s, and if there's a seat available, you guys could hop on it and get a ride to where you need to go. And he came to this flight deck at midnight, and there was one C-130 refueling on the flight line, and he goes, he asked the guy, the controller there, said, "Where's that plane going?" They said, "They're going to Baghdad." And he goes, he said, "I need to get a seat on that." And the controller says, "That's a VIP C-130, you can't. There's no seats available." And and as he told me, he said, I was so disgruntled by it. He walked out and he was standing in the dark, and I walked up to him. He said, I've met you before. And he said, he asked me, he said, I'm trying to get to Baghdad, and they won't let me fly on that plane. And as he said that, Charlie walked up and said, how you doing, son? And he said, I'm not doing too good, sir. I need to get to Baghdad. And Charlie says, come on, boy, you go with me. And Charlie just wrapped his arm around him and walked him out and put him on the plane, and we got him to Baghdad. And so fast forward 9-10 years later, I run into him, and he shared that story with me, and we became good friends. And since now, he's become a major executive at a major company. I'm not going to tell his stuff, but he's a major executive at a big company that is a big donor to our foundation now because of Charlie giving him a ride that night.
That's awesome.
So that's when good things come back tenfold.
There's a couple times, some of the things that we say when you talk about operational planning is enemy gets a vote and weather gets a vote.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like I've seen some footage, just kind of looking back through some of the imagery and some of the videos of Charlie's visits and yours, your travels over there. And looks like sometimes the weather and the enemy got a vote in how the show goes.
Oh yeah, it was. I know that when we were going to go to Bagram, and Bagram was just a rough runway. There was not much at Bagram at all. And before we landed, they hit the end of the runway with some mortar fire, and so we couldn't land. So they vectored us to Uzbekistan at K2. We went to K2, and we had just left Kuwait or Baghdad or somewhere where it was 109, and we got to K2 and it was snowing. And I tell the story now, and it's not so funny because on the other end of it with Journey Home Project, we're dealing with it. But there were old Russian MiGs still sitting on the runway there, and me and Charlie were standing outside. We stayed in tents that night. There were no barracks or housing, and we could see something glowing off in the distance. And Charlie asked the colonel that was traveling with us, "What is that?" He said, "Oh, it's nuclear waste that Russia left here." And so it's it was just and you said you were in Fallujah. We were on our way to Fallujah, and you guys had a big street fight going on there, so they diverted us to Nasiriyah. And so we went to Nasiriyah instead, and we set up in a little hutch and just played for the guys there in Nasiriyah. It was an old British military base in Nasiriyah that the Brits had left there years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an adventure a minute. It was always something. And then I got to experience, the dust storms. Never seen one of those before. I've seen them out west in my cowboy days, but I had never seen anything like that. They told us there was something coming, and I saw that big red cloud. I've got some pictures of that, and
that visibility just goes to zero.
I couldn't believe it. And the wall that was moving towards us, and they said, "Go get in your Chewies and stuff some towels around the doors." And I asked him, because I was the tour manager, how long are we going to be here? Might be here 15 minutes. We might be here 3 days. I'll see you when it passes.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. But it's, I'm sure some of the guys, there were some guys that didn't go back with us that went the first time.
Yeah.
A couple of the musicians chose not to go, or their families asked them not to go. From the fear of traveling into the combat zones and stuff. Same thing happened to us when we were coming into Baghdad one night, probably 0200, and we were on a Chinook. It was a rare. We had not flown on any Chinooks. We'd flown mostly on Blackhawks, and the Chinook took a hard 45-degree turn to the right and shot off the flares. And evidently, we had taken some ground fire, some steel sight fire, and many years past that, we had a security guard that was walking Charlie out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to his bus after a show, and he said, told Charlie, he said, I was in Iraq when you were. And Charlie said, well, what show did you come to? He said, well, I didn't come to a show. And Charlie said, well, how did you know we were there? And he said, because I was a part of the quick response team when you guys took ground fire in Baghdad. He said, we were part of the quick response team that went after the guys that shot at you. Charlie said, you get any of them? He said, 2 of them. So, those stories continue to come back. I get so much now that, social media, I get so many people that reach out to me and go, I saw you guys in Al-Assad. I saw you guys there. Saw you in, in Kandahar or wherever it was, And it's, man, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling, obviously, for multiple reasons, but only the reason to know that, one of our young men got back.
Yeah.
So it brought an emotional piece to the CDB that didn't exist, and it's why I can get really angry at the public. I get to. It's my prerogative because they don't know. They just don't know. And I don't know what you and so many others went through. I can't fathom it, but I can more so than a civilian that never saw it.
Yeah.
So it's very rewarding both to have the background in music that Charlie gave me, but it's so much more rewarding to the background that I got to experience with the military.
Yeah.
It's become my life now.
And we thank you.
Oh, well, it's my honor.
With us being in the Nashville area, you do a lot of events up there at Fort Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some of those interactions like?
Well, we don't really do a lot at Fort Campbell. What happened for me is that through my connections and through the people I met, I got involved with a 5th Special Forces group, and from that, it has allowed me to not only be a part. I serve as an honorary chaplain now for the Chapter 38, the SF Association chapter there. And it's such a well of knowledge and friendships that enhance what we do as a foundation. So, for instance, this year we're going to honor the horse soldiers that fought in Afghanistan, and we're excited about that. We got General Mulholland that's going to come, and never did I think I would get a chance to even meet Mulholland, but I actually was invited to speak at the Green Beret reunion this year, and so I got to meet the general, and he's going to come spend some time with us in September. And as you know, you performed last year,
Yeah, that was
which was a complete honor for me to be able to ask you to. And you came and you geared up and on short notice and came down and killed the audience. It was a great song, great performance, and we honored the Marines from Benghazi. So such a circle of life and tragedy all into one. But having Fort Campbell in our backyard, there's just such a wonderful resource for being able to not only spend time with veterans, but for me, it helps me, again, whether it's in good circumstance or bad, to be able to collect that knowledge so that I can sit down with one of your battle buddies and I take great pride in being a civilian and being able to, that a military person would sit down and maybe able to get something from me, that maybe something I can share that can help him with his journey back into my world, back into civilian life. So Fort Campbell has been great. I mean, everybody, I've always said, and I shared with you earlier, about 50 years, I got a half century in the music business. And when Charlie passed away, the military is who surrounded me and gave me the friendship, the comfort, and the encouragement to move forward, because I was stuck. I never knew anything really but Charlie Daniels Band and touring and the music business. And that was my life. I thought I would spend the rest of my life doing that. Little did I know that I would have the most meaningful part of my career happen after the music business.
Wow.
And it was because of the military that I didn't get to serve.
So you had talked about right around September.
Yep.
You have the Journey Home Project has an awards dinner, a gala, just an unbelievable event. Tell us about what's going to happen this year.
Well, as I said earlier, we're going to honor the horse soldiers. In the past, we honored the Benghazi guys. We honored one of your brother Marines, the Battle of Chosin Reservoir in Korea a few years back. But what it is, it's a little bit more than a cold chicken dinner. The regular honorary dinners. We don't have long-winded speakers. It's really just a gathering of all branches and all types of service people. We've talked so much about combat, but as Charlie and I always said, and when we did Journey Home Project, and when we went to, you leave your rank at the door, whether you're a MARSOC Marine, a Navy SEAL, a Green Beret, a Ranger, you need to leave that all at the door. We believe that anybody that signed on that dotted line, signed that check that's payable up to your life. You don't, and you know this, I'm preaching to the choir, when you sign on that dotted line, you don't know where you're going to end up, whether you're going to be in an office or if you're going to be on the front lines or you're going to be kicking in doors. You don't know. And so we honor every man, woman, child that has been a part of the military structure, that we know that when you leave home and you come back, whether you just went to Fort Dix, New York and spent your time, or if you served out west somewhere in Fort Carson your career, your life changed when you left home. Life is not the same when you're gone and you come home. Your family changes, your lifestyle changes, and so for Journey Home Project to love on you, you don't have to be a frontline, battle weary guy. You're military weary. You're I miss home weary, and that's what we want to do. We want to help you make that transition back home. And so that's what the event's all about. We don't focus on any one thing. Yeah, we take that time period and we do offer, we didn't know how long Journey Home Project as a foundation would last. And so we decided that we would create the Charlie Daniels Patriot Award. And we felt like that could outlive Journey Home as a foundation because, and maybe I know I'm partial, but who wouldn't want a Patriot Award from Charlie Daniels, and because he was a great patriot. And it was the brilliance of Charlie is that how many guys could you work for that remembered Pearl Harbor, that remembered World War II, remembered the Korean War, remembered Vietnam, and then, jumps on a plane and does 22-hour days in the sandbox.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is intriguing when Charlie would tell stories about, you know, Germany sinking freighters off the coast of North Carolina, you know, when he was a kid. And there's a great story where his mom woke him up on a Wednesday morning and took him to church to pray for the soldiers landing on Normandy Beach. So there's not going to be another patriot, a supporter of the military like Charlie. You know, they said there would never be another Bob Hope, you know. Lee Greenwood's one. Lee Greenwood has been to every corner of this earth singing one song. Uh, but he does more than that. It's just, you know that, just to see a familiar face, to see somebody that understands where you lived and what your family's going through at home. And those are blessings. And I think that you have a real opportunity to develop here the veterans that can turn right around and help other veterans.
Yeah.
You know, it's a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Charlie does music. Charlie goes overseas and does music. He inspires. You know, when the first trip we made, we came back, and because when we would talk to guys over there, they'd go, somebody bring a guitar to sign, and Charlie goes, "Do you have an amp?" They go, "No, there's not any music equipment here." And when I put the trips together, we got all the music equipment out of Kuwait. We had a company out of Kuwait that's where we got all the gear from, and then we just took our own guitars. But it's that opportunity for it to domino and to continue, for you to be able to open your doors to your veteran community and give them a safe haven to come not only share their stories, but to share their music. But I got off track. What we did is when we came back, I called Sony, I called Gibson. We shipped 5,000 CDs and DVDs, 100 Gibson guitars. I forget, something like 40 or 50 amplifiers from Peavey. I went around to all my connections and I loaded a C-17 out at the 118th and at the Nashville airport, and we sent it back to Iraq with a load of equipment and music and videos and anything they needed. I just got a letter 2 weeks ago from a specialist, a guy that was a part of our security detail when we were there, and he played drums in his band at church, and he got deployed. And when he came home, when he was over there, we sent him a brand new set of drums, and he just gave that set of drums to his son. Stories that I get to carry to the grave with me that I just love.
What we like to do, here is being, at the time active duty, and then also a musician, and trying to find places to record, or trying to, uh, you know, be a musician, that kind of thing. There's challenges that go with that,
Yeah.
especially when you pick up and you move every couple years, and you have to start in a new place. And, like, an example is, uh, I was stationed in Hawaii, and you go there, you're the new guy, and you go to the coffee shop and you play the open mic, and then, you know, by the end of the third year, I got to open up for Bon Jovi, and I played with the Black Eyed Peas and got to do different opportunities there. And then next thing you know, the next duty station, I went to Quantico, and it's, you back to the coffee shop, and
Yeah.
you start over. You
Start
can't
over.
establish any kind of career, and and then finding a place to record, and a place that understands, you as a military person or a veteran. And I was like, well, we're just gonna make our own place, and we're gonna be that, that home for
Yeah.
them. So that's a lot of what we do here at Harmony Hill. And then, with the VetTunes podcast, it was an opportunity to get folks like Sal Gonzalez and a lot of my friends who are just these great uh, musicians and artists, and just tell tell the world about them, and then how they may have had to put things aside for a music or for the military career, or the folks that have used music in their transition process. I mean, this place was a huge part of my transition from almost 30 years in the Marine Corps into what's next. So this allowed me the opportunity to kind of work some things out while working with my hands and keeping busy, and kind of staying focused and that kind of thing.
It's great, and music itself. I think I shared this story with you a while back. Was that I met a woman that had graduated from. She had degrees from Cambridge. She had degrees from Harvard and everything, and she studied the brain and how music affects it. And oddly enough, PTS and music affect the same parts of the brain. It's why when we get depressed, we put our headsets on and our ears and we lose ourselves in music. It's a great place to hide. And, but it also, the other side of it is a wonderful way to heal. I've seen in our music programs, our songwriting programs, and obviously you're right in the middle of them now.
Yeah, with
It,
Freedom
it
Sings
provides
USA.
the opportunity for you guys to share what I call regurgitating. That's the nice word, but getting some of this stuff out that you're holding inside, that no physician, no medicine, or anything else can do. But if I hand you a guitar and put you in the corner of one of these beautiful rooms you got here, you're going to apply those feelings into your hands and into your music, and out it goes. And being in the entertainment business and growing up like I did, I've got my stripes in recovery and rehabilitation myself. Addiction and all things dark thrive in the entertainment business. And so what I do know is when you say something out loud, it loses its power and it draws you closer to the light. And when we get those things out of us, when we say it out loud and we realize that no buildings fall down, life doesn't change, it's just you regurgitating those feelings. And music is a wonderful vessel for that. Tom Spooner, who runs Warrior's Heart down in Texas, which is and they have one now in Virginia, but one of the most comprehensive rehabilitation centers in the world, or in the United States, for our veterans. And when I first started talking to Tom, and there's a songwriting program now down there now with Operation Song. And when I asked Tom, I said, tell me about Warrior's Heart. And he said, well, we have a woodworking shop and we have a metal shop, and we want a music program. And I go, well, the treatment centers I was in, we didn't have any arts and crafts. It's pretty hardcore. You're going to get clean here. And he said, well, our thought process is these guys have been tearing up stuff for a long time. We want them to learn to start creating stuff and building stuff rather than tearing it down. So music is that. It's the ability to create, put lyric to music, and through that process, you're also saying things out loud that you need to say.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, as I shared earlier, you when I met you, you never lost your vision. And I don't even know, when we met at the mayor's house that night, I don't even remember how long that it has been.
That was 2016.
2016. Okay. So
Mhm.
10 years. So you have not changed one bit, except you're not in your dress uniform, but you never lost your vision, and I commend you and honored to be invited to come out here.
Thank you.
And I love the place. You've created a safe haven, a safe space for veterans, and God bless you for that.
No, we like it, and we enjoy having folks out One last thing, and I was lucky enough to participate. But this year, or last year, 2025, in I believe it was July, at the Opry, there was a night dedicated to honoring Charlie Daniels.
Yeah.
It was an amazing event, and the stars that came out that performed some of Charlie's hits. I mean, how did something like that come about?
Well, it's the Opry's 100th anniversary.
Hmm.
So that was already in motion that uh, I didn't know about it at the time, but obviously we spent so much time. That was Charlie's greatest honor besides entertaining troops, was to become a member of the Grand Ole Opry. So he had a deep reverence for the Opry. And so what was planned all year, 2025, was for the Opry, and I think it's even moving into 2026. But their plans were to honor some of the artists that were no longer with us, that have passed on. They wanted to give them a special night and honor them. They had the collective 100th celebration where they had everybody in, as I say, everybody in their brown dog to play. But then they chose some nights, and which I didn't know about. And what I had wanted to do is put together something special for our team and for the people that have donated and been kind to us and helped us with our journey and helping and supporting the troops. I called the Opry and said, I want to buy a bunch of tickets and have a little bit of a private party at the Opry, and we want to give back. And we started looking at dates when we were going to do it, and they said, "Oh, by the way, July the 8th is we're going to honor Charlie." And I go, "I want that night.
Hmm.
I want the tickets for that night." And that happened to be on Charlie passed away on July the 6th of 2020, but his wife's birthday is on July the 8th. So the Opry was able to celebrate Miss Hazel's birthday. And then we were allowed to be one of the sponsors, one of the segment sponsors. And so it all, again, the way things that are right come together. And so I thought it was a wonderful night. I
It
thought it
was
was a
magical.
great choice of artist. And it was just one of those things that was supposed to happen, and
Yeah.
it happened the way God planned it. And
Well, thank you for letting me be a part of that.
oh,
That
it was
was
great.
amazing.
But thank you. I'm telling you, the for the audience that will listen to this podcast, our event in 2025, as I said earlier, was geared around not only the Benghazi survivors, but we honored the ones that we lost. And
Hmm.
Tyrone Woods, who died on the rooftop, as well as Bub Daughtery, both from the Marine family and SEAL family. And so we honored Tyrone's mother and Bub's brother. It all came from this song that Tig had created, and it was created from a prayer that Tig said over the bodies on the rooftop before they ultimately took them off the rooftop.
Rest now, brothers, will carry the fight.
Yep. And we were able to Tig put music to it. And there was a big discussion about we got to get an artist. We got to get a famous artist. We got to get, this guy or that guy to do the song. And I said, I don't want that. I want a soldier to do it. It'll have so much more meaning. Who do we know? I know a guy. And it was you. And I called you up in short notice and just threw it in your lap. I know that was the downside of it. That was bad business on my part, but I gave it to you and you rose to the occasion. And just, you could hear a pin drop when you did that song. And I just spoke to Tyrone's mom just a few weeks ago, And she said it was the defining moment for her when you did that song.
Mm.
Well,
it was my honor, and it was an incredible night.
You made me look good.
Well, so for the folks who are out there, and if you're not in the Nashville area, this is an event to come to Nashville for. And the journeyhomeproject.org is where you're going to have all the information about this event.
Yes.
I have been fortunate enough to be at 2 of them. And it's not often you go to an event where you have a veteran sitting right next to Lee Greenwood and um, Chris Young and all the folks that are there, and just participating in there. And I got to meet Stormy Warren and share some stories with him. And I mean, just a world-class event that is raising funds for veteran programs, and just honored to be a part of it. And if anybody out there has the opportunity to go, I would highly recommend it. Is it City Winery this year?
City Winery, September 10th. And it's going to be a great night. It's going to be fun. And this will be your 3rd event, I assume. Hope you can be there.
I would love to.
And we're going to. It's again. It's almost like a reunion. We have a lot of returning customers that come and want to be a part of it. And again, I think, and we all brag about our own stuff, but I really think it's a lot different than just a dinner. I think the auction is such a big part of it, and it's fun. And
the auctioneers that you have at that event
yeah.
are just, I mean, that's world class.
Well,
right
it's when it's when the military and cowboy world collide, and it works well. It's a good collision, and I think everybody has fun and would love for people to come out and support our cause, and if you can't, support someone's cause, be a part of it, volunteer. If you can't donate, that's okay, man. Call a veteran, tell him how you feel. We owe so much to you guys. We owe so much to the military community that I will spend the rest. I'm getting a little long in the tooth, as they say. I've got a lot more years behind me than I do in front of me. But the amazing gift that the military, that Charlie, and that God, my Lord and Savior, gave to me is I'm going to get to spend the rest of my life doing exactly what we did in the past, what you and I got to do last September, and what I hope that you and I will continue to do in the future. And I think it's a wonderful dichotomy that I have a musical background, but I was able to, again, have the opportunity to spend time with the military, and now it's woven back to where I'm sitting in a studio again talking about music. And so it's God is good.
Yeah.
And thank you for your friendship, and thank you for doing what Marines do. You came in and saved the day last year. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks for coming here.
You bet.